What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hoops Corner. I'm your host, Peter Tran, and on the line, straight from the moon, Josh Cohen. How you doing?
Up in the stars here. Yeah, it seems like just yesterday there was actually basketball being played. And now the off-season's here and we're in the dead period. We're in outer space.
Wow, what a reach. Almost as big of a reach as our very own Rajan Walia calling the Mavericks in 6 to win this year's finals. Rajan, how's it feel?
Hey, I thought we were a month out. You're going to let me go, but I guess I'm here to take all the punishment I deserve. But you know what? A man can dream.
Oh, wait, who called Boston in 5 again? Who's that?
I don't remember. It's been a long month. I think you're supposed to do it in front of the ear, not blocking the ear. It doesn't really work.
All right,
out.
doctor.
Space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
I can't really
Sound
hear
travels
you,
differently.
so...
Oh, this guy. Raj, welcome back, man. It's been quite a minute. But, sorry, going back to your Mavericks take, maybe they'll do better with Klay Thompson on the team now instead of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green.
Yeah, this is going to really put them over the top because Klay is in his prime.
Excuse me?
Just a little bit past it.
It's
Just a bit.
Yeah, just a bit past the best before date. But yeah, it's NBA free agency. It's probably one of the more exciting times for people who actually watch NBA basketball because now we can talk about what moves need to be made from which teams, which players will be in good opportunities, and there's a lot of movement, and I'm sure there's going to be a bit more before the season starts.
And what better place to start than in Philadelphia, where Paul George has, I guess, not reunited with anybody, reunited with Eric Gordon. They used to be teammates, right? Eric Gordon used to play on...
Yeah, and the Clippers, I think, for 2 years.
A year or two? Yeah. Okay, there you go. Transition works. Paul George is reunited with Eric Gordon, but also joined Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre is still there. Andre Drummond is on this team. So if anyone knew that, because I was not really aware, to be honest. And I don't know, we were just talking about it pre-pod because I hadn't realized. Caleb Martin, also on the Philadelphia 76ers. On the way out, they lost Batum, who cares? It's basically Paul George and Batum switching places. Mo Bamba, who cares? Buddy Hield to the Warriors. They didn't really play him. Paul Reed, it was waived and then signed by the Pistons, which is just odd.
The Pistons signed another center.
Surprise, surprise. And
well, didn't they lose Wiseman?
They didn't lose. They fortunately had Wiseman leave. Anyways, Paul George, big three in Philadelphia. I'm assuming a contender, right? We got to put them on the same line as Milwaukee, right, Josh? I mean, they're as much of a contender as Giannis and Dame are, no?
I mean, on paper, they're a better team for sure. I think you have to have them in the conversation with New York now, at least. Boston's in another tier, I think. But ultimately, I think we've done this before. I think you have to look at this through the prism that, you're bringing a guy who has not been healthy the last 4 out of 5 years. Like last year, he was obviously the most healthy he's been in a very long time. And you're bringing him to a situation where they have one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA in Joel Embiid. So I guess the hope here is that at least one of them plays with Maxey, who seemingly always plays for the most part, unless he has used minor ankle sprains, right? And then come playoff time, hopefully both of them will be load managed enough to where they can both play at the same time. And Embiid has never been healthy in the playoffs. And Paul George has had 1 or 2 good playoff series, and he's been injured in others. He's had a lot of situations where he just hasn't shown up. He created his own playoff P nickname, and that turned into a whole meme because he never showed up after that. So ultimately, I think I wouldn't say it's going to be a disaster, but it's going to be just like all of Paul George's other stops, and that is going to be a big disappointment.
I honestly have nothing to disagree with. Maybe I'll just add on that the best option for the Philadelphia 76ers is probably to get somewhere between the 5 and 7 seed and be healthy instead of going for the 1 or 2 or 3 seed. Like, their health is going to be their limiting factor. On paper, if all of their guys play, they're on the same tier as the Knicks and the Bucks. The other interesting thing is they just don't have all that much spacing. Like, obviously Paul George helps with that, but like, you have Embiid and you want to be playing inside. You have Maxey who can play outside, and Paul George again can, but they still don't have like enough spacing, I think, and shooting around some of those players. And who do they have that's off the ball that's a really effective player? Kelly Oubre Jr.?
I mean, Caleb Martin, you would think. They just signed him, obviously, to an amazing deal for Philadelphia. Not an amazing deal for Caleb Martin, obviously, seeing as he lost out on $28 million because his agent doesn't know what he's doing. In that, Miami offered him 4 years, $60 million, and he ended up taking 4 years, $32 from Sixers. But Caleb Martin seems to fit that bill. He's good off the ball. He makes good cuts, and he's a playoff performer, unlike Playoff P.
I mean, let's relax. It's easy to be a playoff performer when nobody cares about you as an opponent. Let's calm down.
Well, as Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted after he signed, he has his highest averages against the Boston Celtics. I've never seen any other reporter actually report this after somebody signed. And that he reported that Caleb Martin had like a 13 point per game average against the Celtics. And in the playoffs, it went up to like 17 or 18. Didn't mention his averages in general. Not that he averaged like 11 points last year. It's just against the Celtics, he averaged X amount of points, X amount of rebounds. And I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
What the hell are we doing here with these Woj reports? Come on, man.
Yeah, but
scratching backs.
Every team in the East that's looking to win in the next 1 or 2 years is looking at the Celtics because obviously they won the championship. They still have a majority of their pieces. They signed Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to long-term deals. Their team essentially, and Derek White as well, like their core is essentially going to be the same, and they're the team to beat. So you have to find a way to mitigate that team. And if you're gonna pick up a player, you might as well pick a player that's known and proven to have beat Boston, who's played well against them. So not a bad pickup. I still think they're gonna make a few more moves as the season progresses, but I think the other side of this is the Clippers are just done. Like, they were the team that could have been it if everyone was healthy and they managed to play together. Like, they've tried so many different variations to surround Kawhi and Paul George with different role players, and nothing's worked, and their health just hasn't coordinated with each other. And I think their window's completely over, especially if you look at what the other teams in the West are doing. Like the Mavs, the Lakers are going to be better. Obviously, Minnesota took a big leap last year. Denver's the interesting one. They're probably going to actually have a dip in the next year or so, next year or two, but the Clippers have gone from, wow, they have a lot of talent, to, wow, what are they doing and how do they blow it up?
Hilariously, the 76ers have 9 players on their current roster. So yeah, they have a lot of space to fill. But I mean, I kind of like this weird transition that you made to the Clippers. I wasn't planning to talk about them at all because, well, I mean, what did they really do? They lost Paul George, Mason Plumlee's gone, Daniel Tice's gone. That was like, those are a couple of serviceable big guys. They brought in Mo Bamba. Again, who cares? Nicholas Batum has gone back to LA for some reason, just because he likes the weather, probably. They re-signed James Harden, which I assume was like the big thing for them. And, they signed Derrick Jones Jr. and, oddly, Kevin Porter Jr.? Is this team just like grabbing all the misfits and just strange chemistry pieces they can get? Didn't they have Josh Primo too?
Yeah, they signed him in the past, and apparently they're going after Miles Bridges too before he signed with Charlotte. So
they're going for the value picks. I think they're there just to turn players around, maybe showcase that they're reformed, and try to get some return back for them at some point. I think, again, it's an interesting strategy, but this Clippers team, especially with Kawhi being injured, how injured, how often he is, and James Harden just not being a consistent playoff performer and being old as hell, like they've just lost a lot.
Yeah, the strategy of picking up players who may go to jail doesn't seem like the greatest strategy, to be honest.
Maybe avoids their contract.
I mean, there's an open roster spot there, I guess, then, right? But,
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest winner here is the Oklahoma City Thunder because they own all the Clippers picks and pick swaps in the next couple of years. So
Hell yeah.
they might end up with a couple lottery picks in these next couple of years because, if Kawhi gets injured next year, which he's going to at some point, then you have the James Harden show and not much else there.
Hold on. Must I remind you, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 2-time champion, was once upon a time under house arrest and had to basically not play with an ankle monitor, literally, but, metaphorically had to play with an ankle monitor. So, these prison guys can't play ball, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, they have a lot of point guards in that team now. They got Harden, they got KPJ, they got Chris Dunn, whose whole situation hasn't been confirmed yet because they're still trying to figure out what to do with Westbrook. Westbrook's going to get traded probably to the Nuggets in the next little bit, supposedly.
Like, what do we
That's
do?
a thing now, apparently.
What are we doing, man? What is... side rant. What the hell is Denver doing, man? Come on. Last year
Shipping
was
out
like...
Being
as
cheap.
usual.
Come on, man.
They're being cheap. It's all what Stan Kroenke's about. They had a window. They got a championship. They had probably a 3-year window. They got 1 out of 3. Hey, that's a big banner. The Raptors take it. I think the Nuggets take it as well. But when you lose a player like KCP, when you're looking to bring in a play, and you've lost Bruce Brown, like they've just lost a lot of key role players. They still have a good foundation. They have Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and MPJ. But ultimately, oh my God, I just got a notification saying Bronny's defense. And then the 2 eye emojis. Oh my God. What is
What the hell?
This NBA basketball come to?
Okay, on that note,
50.
I saw that after Bronny's first game, he had like 4 points, I think. He was on the front page of ESPN. And I heard that an NFL player, like a prominent NFL player, died that day. And yet Bronny scoring 4 points was more important than the NFL player dying. Like, what are we doing?
It's
In a summer league game. He played terrible. He shot like 2 for 9.
Not even Vegas summer.
Yeah,
league.
and you know, yeah, just summer league. And just to pile on again, nothing against Bronny the player. Just this is ridiculous as the media and the fans just being stupid. They the way they put it on the infographic is 21 at the top, making it seem like he had 21 points. It was 21 minutes, 4 points, and they wrote 2 and 2. So it looks like he shot 2 for 2 from 3 or something. No, it's 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Just whatever. It is what it is. We will talk about the Lakers all the time in the season, so let's just not give them a minute in the
Hell no.
offseason.
We ain't talking about no
going back
Lakers
to
this
the-
season. Are you crazy? Unless they do damage, I'm not doing anything about the Lakers, man.
I would like somebody to do a deep dive to see who was or who has the worst resume coming into the NBA who has been drafted when they started to do the 2-round format. Because I know back in the day they were doing like 9 or 10 rounds
Yeah.
in like the 60s and 70s, which I learned recently. I didn't even know that. But I would like to know from the 2-round format onwards, who are the worst players to come in the NBA from college? Because he has to be up there. He averaged like 2 points last year.
Yeah, but also he's a freshman. There are other players that just don't have a big... I guess from college, probably not as many, but there are probably a few players that missed time from injury or they had a lot of hype before and then they got injured. But he's definitely one of the most prominent ones, let's say.
Yeah.
Probably the most
That's because of
prominent
his
one.
last name, though. Like, what player, even if they had an injury, came back halfway through the season? I know he had a heart thing, obviously. It's a whole different thing. But still, came back halfway through the season and averaged 3 points per game and got drafted. That doesn't happen.
And got paid $9 million over 3 years.
It's crazy.
I was actually at 8 over 4 years. Thank you very much.
Okay. Oh, sorry. We got to get the average down because it's more modest. LeBron took an $8 million pay cut.
He
That's
did.
essentially
LeBron
what it
took a
was.
pay cut, and then he's
He's
going to
like-
make history. Let him enjoy it, man. He's in his elder years, yo. He's a
Did you
senior
hear-
citizen of the NBA. Let him have fun. You don't chirp at old people for walking slow around a mall. Just let LeBron do his thing.
Yeah, but you know how it worked, how they got to Bronny's contract, actually? They asked LeBron, what is your allowance for Bronny every year? And he said $2 million. And he's like, okay, well, instead of paying you and then you giving the money to Bronny, he's like, why don't we just pay him directly? And LeBron's like, that's cool. And then he re-signed. That's exactly how it went.
I like that take. That actually makes a lot of sense.
It's fair, $2 million.
Shut up. That makes a lot of sense. That's so upset.
It's from the unofficial
All right.
Woj Twitter.
Oh,
X.
yeah. Yeah.
Burner.
This is from Ballsack Sports.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Do you guys want to stay out east or are you be going west here? I'll let you guys pick.
Let's stay in the East.
Mikal Bridges goes and joins his former college teammates, I guess, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, to create the Nova Knicks. Mikal Bridges, who once played 83 games in an 82-game season, is now playing for Tom Thibodeau, who will undoubtedly
Ultimate
play him
test.
into the ground, or he will break Cal Ripken's Iron Man record of, playing forever. Who knows? I'm going to say that he gets broken at some point and has to sit at least one game this year, which will break his own record. But, I mean, the Nova Knicks just keep getting stronger. And we all wonder what the hell are they going to do with Julius Randle now, because he seems to be the odd man out. When, a year and a half ago, we thought, the team all revolved around him. What to do?
Honestly, Raj doing that thing with his teeth is making me laugh. He keeps doing it.
All right. Yeah.
That's all it is,
Checking
huh?
myself out. But here, I'll jump in just because Josh is just infatuated with my
I'm
teeth.
distracted.
The Knicks obviously made an interesting play of trying to reassemble that Villanova championship team, and they exceeded expectations. Obviously, they traded for OG. They did re-sign him this offseason. Has it been official yet or no?
Yep.
It's official. So they have a great starting four with Brunson, DiVincenzo, OG, and Mikal Bridges. The interesting piece is they just don't have a five right now. And Hartenstein played out of his mind in the playoffs and seemed to be a player that gelled well with that group, and they ended up not re-signing him. It seems like Randall either has to come off the bench and be like that ultra six man, which I think would be great for the Knicks, or they know they're not going to re-sign him and they end up trading him for some pieces, which hopefully one of them is a center. But yes, Mikal Bridges is, mark my words, he's not playing more than 75 games next year. Thibodeau is going to run him into an injury. And I also think the Knicks need to get a bit more shooting on their team. Just because, again, OG, Bridges, they can make some shots, but just to help with the spacing.
I think it depends on how Thibodeau sort of puts his lineups together. Because right now, I mean, the lineup you would think is going to be Bridges at shooting guard, right? With OG at small forward, Randall at the 4. But ultimately, the best lineup is going to be with either Josh Hart or DiVincenzo at the 2. And then you have Bridges and OG at the forward spots. And then you have Mitchell Robinson at center. But what they could do, which is something Thibodeau's never done before, is play Randall as center. And he's completely stayed away from that the last few years. He didn't do it with Toppin when Toppin was there. When everyone, all the Knicks fans were asking Thibodeau to play Toppin 20-plus minutes a game, which is not possible when he's playing Randall 40 minutes a game and refuses to play them both together. So right now he might be forced into that because they don't have a backup center. So this might be the first year they actually try to go small, and they probably should at least try it out because Randall is a really good rebounder. And if you have that kind of perimeter defense around him, then that could be a really strong lineup against bench lineups.
Yeah, but they don't have the rim protection then.
They got Jericho Sims. Remember when the Knicks fan base loved Jericho Sims? What happened to that?
And they are trying to trade for Walker Kessler right now. So if they ended up getting him, this is a whole different conversation, obviously. And they have a pretty elite team overall. If they get him in there as well, because they have such a strong bench already with Josh Hart and DiVincenzo coming off the bench with McBride as well. So if they get that last piece, then they're pretty complete.
You think he would mesh well on that team? He seems too
Clunky.
yeah, he's too big. He's not as athletic as Hartenstein.
Wow,
I don't know how else to say
that's
it.
pure analysis right there.
He's
too
big.
big.
Too big.
He's not athletic enough.
Yeah, he's like a lumbering big guy. He's too old school.
Nah, I disagree. I think Kessler's good. I don't understand why Utah doesn't play him more. He's one of the best shot blockers in the league. Teams shoot a horrible percentage when he's at the rim and he's defending. So I don't get it, to be honest. I don't understand it.
Maybe because he can't
apparently
move.
the Jazz.
He's not very mobile.
And he's probably a target for switches.
Yeah, but you're not going to switch if he's in the game. He's going to drop, right? So that's the only downside with him in the game. But it's not like Mitchell Robinson's coming up to the level either, right? So, and if he's playing two centers all the time, and you have phenomenal, defensive players on the wing, that's sort of what you want to do. Sort of like what Boston did. You just follow the screens and don't switch, and you have them trail. And OG and Bridges are two of the best defenders in the NBA at that, so I think that would be a phenomenal fit. But apparently the Jazz turned down 2 first-round picks recently. Who knows what kind of first-round picks they were. But, yeah, I mean, it depends on the asking price, I suppose. But getting back to the Knicks in general, though, I just don't know what they're going to do with Randall. I assume they're going to trade him this year because he's going to be a free agent soon. And he doesn't really fit the lineup. I don't think that big lineup really works. I don't know, they have a lot of talent, obviously. It's just, I'm not sure the fit is there.
No, he seems like odd man out.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, with the Knicks is they it's the Thibodeau special. Are they going to be healthy enough to beat a team like the Celtics at some point in the playoffs when they do eventually collide? Because Jalen Brunson was just a shell of himself at the end of the playoff series against Indiana. Obviously, he picked up an injury. And they do need a bit of size because that's what Boston does have. Obviously, with KP and Horford, and some of their wings are pretty big. So they definitely need to address that center position and maybe add one more wing. Although, obviously, starting off with...
I wouldn't do that.
I don't think
I think they have enough wings, to be honest. Their top 8 is really, really good.
Yeah.
If you have McBride, DiVincenzo, and Hart off your bench, that's really good. But I think ultimately Thibodeau's going to have to make the tough decision and sit Randall down and be like, if we're going to win the championship this year, you have to come off the bench. OG starts at the 4. DiVincenzo goes back to starting at the 2 because they need that shooting, like you mentioned, in the starting lineup. Just a guy who's going to catch and shoot.
Yep.
Obviously, they have that with Bridges now. He's really good at that. OG is good at that as well. But if you have those 3 guys surrounding Brunson, and then the biggest thing then is having Mitchell Robinson healthy. But again, I think the Knicks are going to make a move for a center before the season starts. So if they do that, and they get a guy who's reliable and can play 20 minutes a game and be a starter when Mitchell Robinson conveniently gets injured every single year for 20 games, then it should be okay. A guy that's on the Daniel Tice level. Yeah. Around that, I think they'd be fine with that.
Let's get Vucevic. No, Chicago needs to blow it up.
No, they need a player that can play defense. And
not suck.
Vucevic.
That.
He's okay.
That.
But
he sucks.
He had a brutal year.
Yeah, but just to finish off with the Knicks, I also think their team's scrappy. If you look at their entire team, it's just a bunch of players who are underappreciated in the league, who can actually play great basketball. Their whole team is guys that it's hard to root against. You have Brunson, undersized, undervalued coming out of college, but he's proven his worth. You have Hart, who was probably underappreciated when he played for the Lakers, ultimate hustle guy for the Pelicans. Obviously, Dante DiVincenzo, when he played for the Bucks, he was a good player, but just not probably respected as other 2 guards were. OG, heavily underrated defender, mainly because he played in Toronto and he was injured for that huge playoff run when Kawhi brought us the chip. And then you have obviously Randall, who they have a bunch of players that they're just players that are really good basketball players, but people just don't value them.
Yeah, this is one of those scenarios where they're going to have to win the championship in the next 2 years because things are about to get super expensive, especially now that Brunson's going to be, eligible for an extension, which he's not going to take as long as he doesn't have, Caleb Martin's agent, obviously. Because Brunson's eligible for 4 years, I think $156 million extension. But if he waits a year, it can be like 4 years, $250 plus. So unless he wants to give a massive discount to stay with his friends and keep them all together, which, everyone loves their friends, obviously, but who's going to turn down $100+ million?
Not that much.
Get
You
new
guys
friends.
are cool, but not that much, man.
Buy new friends.
Yeah. Start a group chat.
Yeah, it's like $10 million a
Yeah.
year.
The clock is ticking, though.
This is true. All right, let's move out west. We already talked about this kind of before, but Klay Thompson to the Mavs? First things first, Klay Thompson getting disrespected by the Golden State Warriors. Just, getting dragged on. Oh, well, can you just hang out? We're going to try to trade for Paul George. Can you just wait? We got to see what happens in free agency. Oh, we just need to sign this guy and that guy. Oh, we're going to prioritize Jordan Poole and then trade him. We're going to see what happens with Chris Paul. Klay Thompson was all sorts of disrespected by this team. Hilariously, after winning like 4 rings with them. Yeah, I get it. You want to make sure Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are taken care of. Because, they're young guys. They were your core. Obviously, Jordan Poole's gone after he got punched in the face. But, still, who the hell knows what's happening with Andrew Wiggins, man? He's not playing for Team Canada. He barely plays for the Warriors. It's just like a lot of confusion around the Andrew Wiggins situation if you're not... Apparently, anyone who's outside of the NBA circles, because I don't know what happened, and I don't know anyone who does. But anyways.
No, Okay, hold on a second. The Athletic actually reported on this. They said that the Warriors kept Wiggins from joining Team Canada for the Olympics because they were thinking about trading him during that time period, hopefully for Paul George in that sense. But they basically pulled him from Olympic competition.
Soft.
I wouldn't be surprised if he asked them to say that so that he can get ready for the season and not feel like he's letting the country down. But whatever, we'll never know.
Yeah, I don't really need to know that much about Andrew Wiggins. My whole point is Klay Thompson is now with the Dallas Mavericks, going alongside Luka and Kyrie. A lot of star talent, a lot of power there. And he adds pretty much what we said that they needed all finals, right? Just like a release valve. That's not Derrick Jones Jr.
If they had the
or PJ Washington.
Yeah, but if they had the 2019 Klay Thompson, I would be like, wow, what a move. This is... But they are getting a slower, older Klay Thompson, less mobile, and I think one thing they needed was essentially just a player that could have the defensive capability of Derrick Jones Jr. plus the offensive talent of 2019 Klay Thompson, because he just never was quite the same player after his 2 major injuries and back-to-back seasons.
You're describing an all-NBA player.
Yeah. Klay Thompson.
They need an all-NBA player. That's your analysis.
They need Paul George.
Yeah,
Yeah, what?
Yeah, they needed... But the thing is, people are marking this move as a big move by the Mavericks, and obviously they're in the finals. They're a very good team, and they're not so many pieces away from contending or winning a championship. But I don't think this move in a bubble puts them over the top. Especially with some of the losses they've had, obviously losing Derrick Jones Jr. and replacing him. I think they got Najee Marshall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that pickup more than this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I just don't think the Klay Thompson pick, it's going to help, but I don't think in the crunch time, in the big games, in the big moments, that Klay is going to be the person that brings them over the top. He's good. He's just a bit older, and it's sad to see him leave the Warriors because we've known him from the 2015 Warriors all the way until 2022 when they won the chip. But overall, good things come to an end. It's over. The time's done. Now I wouldn't be surprised if Steph somehow gets his brother Seth back with him. But
He's a free agent.
yeah, exactly. He'll get the real Splash Brother, the biologic Splash Brother. But yeah, I'm not really that impressed with this move. I think the bigger thing for me is a team like the Orlando Magic, who are in the running to maybe get Klay, or the Magic, who are maybe interested in getting a prominent scoring two. They just didn't. Now they're kind of in limbo, in the same position they were before the season started.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between what Orlando did and what Dallas did is that Orlando, brought in a free agent who fits their identity, whereas Dallas lost a guy who helped shape their identity in Derrick Jones Jr., and they brought in Klay Thompson, who's, he's still a good player, obviously, but does he fit what the Mavericks created last year in the second half of the year after the trade deadline, where they were mostly a really good defensive team that had two superstar players who could bring them home in the fourth quarter? And now, if he's going to start, I feel like it's sort of a similar situation with him and Julius Randle, right? Where you have two guys who believe that they're starters, but in the current scenario that they're in, probably should not be starting. Because with Dallas, you're going to have Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and Klay Thompson starting for you, and you're supposed to be a defensive team. That's putting a lot of strain on Derek Lively, and then, Gafford, who's most likely going to be behind him this year, and PJ Washington as well. So who's going to be the on-ball defensive player, right? Like, the biggest thing we learned in the playoffs last year is you have to have at least two or three guys who are really good at defending around screen and roll and being able to stick to their guys. And a team like OKC improved in that area, whereas Dallas decided to completely downgrade from that. And I think that they're going to be like a really average defensive team and, a very good offensive team, but I think there's going to be a dip there. I don't think they're going to be a top 4 seed like everyone's projecting. I would definitely take the under next year on their win total. And they're going to have to find, they definitely have to find like another on-ball defensive player who can play 20 plus minutes a game. I think they're going to hope that Dante Exum can do that. And he did in stretches last year, but can he fill the role that Derrick Jones Jr. filled last year? Maybe. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr. wasn't anything before he really became what he was last year, and he's probably going to dip down to what he was before last year with the Clippers now that he's not getting a ton of open shots, right? So, I think ultimately they're going to find that Klay is a better fit off the bench. I think he's going to become the sixth man later in the year, just like he did with Golden State. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of the move either, but they did the best they could with their situation. So at the same time, like, they brought in a guy who can really shoot the ball, which is going to help Luka. But Klay also relies on, off-ball movement, and how much are they going to run for him?
Not much. The offense too. Like, the Warriors had such a dynamic offense with so many moving parts, and I think Klay got the advantage of having another dominant off-the-ball player in Steph, that he did get open looks. And again, this is nothing against Klay. Like, he's had a great career. It's just I don't see the fit helping him. He ultimately got paid. He's going to a good environment on a team that might have another chance of making a big playoff run. And I just don't think he's going to be a key piece in that run the way that he was with the Warriors. Interestingly enough, had he signed, I know this was never in the works, but had he signed with OKC, I would have been a lot more excited about that pickup. Not because I think he would be a starter there, but I think he would give them something that they probably needed. Just a bit more experience, a bit more shooting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, honestly, but with Klay, it's just about identity. Like, I just don't see them being a very good defensive team if he's on the court a lot. And he's a rhythm player. If you're not running a lot of stuff for him and he's just off the ball, and the other team's smart and they just keep a guy on him in the corner or, off the ball where he's not getting spot-up shots, and they're playing 4-on-4 against Dallas, I mean, you hope that Luka and Kyrie don't combine for 70 points at that point, but there's a lot of ways to take Klay Thompson out of the game if they're not going to run stuff for him, which I'm assuming they're going to in the first part of the year. But, both Kyrie and Luka, they like to run the offense, so it's going to be hard to see Klay getting the same types of actions that he did in Golden State, where he's always running around, whereas Dallas, they have their wing players just hang out in the wing and just don't move that much.
Drive and kick, man. Kick.
Their offense is horrible to watch.
Drive and kick. But he's about to become better than a 39% three-point shooter again. Last year he was 39%. All the years prior he was like in the low 40s. I expect him to hit low 40s again, just because he's going to be less of a volume shooter and more of just he's going to have so many open shots, man.
No, for sure. I think that he's going to have a great statistical year in terms of shooting. I think that their defensive rating is going to plummet.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to fill a lot of different holes as injuries come up as well. And they're just not as deep, honestly. So, we'll see. They lost Josh Green too, right? And he was a main contributor in the finals.
Yeah, he was a good player. Like, he was a good role player off the bench.
I don't know about that, but
no, he was a good player. He played serviceable minutes. Yeah. Peter's just hating on the role players.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, he's good. I hope he does well in Detroit. Detroit?
Yeah. Charlotte.
Charlotte? Oh God,
16th
never mind.
He's done.
Oof. Where players go to die.
Yeah, that in Detroit.
The last point on Dallas, though, I think, if Derek Lively doesn't become, Bam Adebayo defensive level next season, which is asking a lot, I don't see them contending next year.
They need him to be prime Tyson Chandler, man. They need him
which
to be
is basically
2011
Bam
Tyson
level, right?
Chandler. But better than that.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't
know about that.
I don't know. Okay, let's move to California. I mean, do you guys care about this DeMar DeRozan to Sacramento move? Getting rid of Harrison Barnes?
They are the most mid team ever. And I mean mid as in mid everything. Like mid-range, mid-level in the West. Like treadmill, like mid. Like they're not like they're not. They're going in a circle that only Sacramento knows how to go in. Like, obviously, DeMar DeRozan's still a productive NBA player. Like, he can score, he can get you points, he can get you buckets, but he doesn't give you spacing. He's ball dominant. You have another ball dominant player in De'Aaron Fox that loves to use the mid range, and then you have Sabonis who can't space the floor. I've said this maybe four times. Spacing matters in the NBA, especially with teams shooting such a high volume 3-point shooting. Like, you need a bit of spacing, and it helps the 2-point or players that like to work in the mid range. And it's cool that he's now in the West. Like, he spent his whole career in the East, and
played in San Antonio.
Oh right, yeah. I forgot about that little stint there, but he's. I would say he's finally in California. And I think now he's in a role where he's not expected to be the best player or the second best player on this team. He is like officially the third option on the Kings.
Which is a good thing, right?
So it's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, they got better. I think they're definitely better, just at what cost, I think San Antonio made out best in this trade, getting that pick swap, because if you're getting a pick swap that's unprotected from Sacramento, of all franchises in the NBA, that might be like number one where you want to get a pick swap, 7 years from now, besides maybe Charlotte, I guess. So I think they made out the best in this trade. But if you're looking at it from a Sacramento perspective, you're trading, essentially Harrison Barnes for DeMar DeRozan. That's an upgrade. And De'Aaron Fox and DeMar are obviously very smart players, and they play fast. So I think they can make that work despite the spacing potential issues. But I think if you have Malik Monk and Keegan Murray around those guys and, a closing lineup, I think the spacing is fine. But just come playoff time, it's just like, what's their ceiling? So my main question is, in the regular season, who's going to have a better record, Dallas or Sacramento?
Dallas.
Oof. I think
Dallas.
I disagree.
It's going to be like 2 games apart. Like, I think they're both going to be 46, 47 win team. 48 win teams.
I think that Sacramento has the advantage because all these guys just play every single game, right? Kyrie normally sits out like 20 to 30 games. Klay Thompson's had major injuries recently, and then Luka seems to be injured the entire season, but, has played through it last year anyway. And, he's coming off, a season where he played into the finals. And luckily for him, Slovenia lost in the qualifiers, so he doesn't have to play in the Olympics too. So honestly, give me Sacramento in that situation. I think, DeMar DeRozan plays every game. Sabonis plays every game. Fox mostly plays all the time. They have a pretty deep roster as well, so. But yeah, in terms of the playoffs, like they're a first round team and out, I think.
But this could be Luka's year to, stop being fat during the offseason.
If he decides to work out, but it sounds like he's just going to be resting the entire offseason, so he might come back 300 pounds. You never know.
300.
He's bigger than Jokic.
So unnecessarily extreme.
I mean, he's like 260, 270 right now, right? I don't care his NBA page says he's 240. He is not 240.
I don't think he's 260, man. That's extreme.
He's big. He's like 6'8", and he's fat. He's at least 250.
Let the man enjoy his summer.
I don't know.
Let the man. He's probably in the nice beaches of
Yeah.
Slovenia, if they have any. I think they're landlocked.
If they have any.
They're a landlocked country,
Well
so
said.
they don't have that beautiful Adriatic Sea. But yeah, like I think the Kings, I find them just to be an entertaining franchise from a front office perspective because they are completely wild cards, but they're never good. They just do weird things, and this is just another weird thing that I don't think it makes them a lot better. It doesn't make their ceiling a lot better. I think it raises their floor a bit. And ultimately, I think I cheer for DeMar, so they're just a bit more enjoyable of a team to watch.
I mean, if they can stay in these games, they have, the clutchest backcourt in the NBA now, right? They've won the clutch award the last 2 seasons, right? De'Aaron
Yep.
Fox and DeMar.
But are they the best backcourt in the NBA, like Luka and Kyrie?
Yeah, they're the best backcourt of all time.
Yeah, I believe that shit.
Find out next on FS1.
Yes, you did. And that's why you're a fool.
I just didn't want to see the Celtics win. But hey, they were by far the best team, and at least Joe Mazzulla has a chip under his belt, and I can cheer for that guy.
Lesson learned, never bet with your heart.
I didn't bet nothing.
Now you're lucky then.
This is true. You have any stats corner, Josh, or are we calling it here?
We're not even going to talk about OKC?
I mean, they
Give
got...
OKC 30 seconds.
Oh,
30
fine,
seconds.
man. OKC got better in every aspect. What do you like? What do you want me to tell you?
Are they the title favorites next year?
No. Boston.
They are the
easy.
West favorites, for sure. But they're not the title favorites, man.
Yeah, Boston's easily the title favorites.
I don't know, with Porzingis out at least 6 months or whatever
Doesn't
it is.
matter. They have way too much depth.
Yeah, what happens if Horford goes down too? Where's that
Then
depth
they're in
then?
trouble.
Give me
You're
Luke
relying
Cornett.
on Horford to play 25 plus minutes a game now.
It's going to be Cornette and Hauser show, bro.
Cornette and Hauser, the white boys.
Peyton
Yeah.
Pritchard at the 5.
Calm down. It's going to be Tatum at the 5, man. Dude's like 6'10 and jacked. Let's be real. Like, dude's massive. But anyways, the Thunder are clearly the best team in the West now. They're the most well-rounded team. They have an MVP candidate. They brought in 2 defensive beasts in Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. They brought back Joe and Wiggins. And Kason Wallace is probably going to get better. The guy was a rookie last year playing strong playoff minutes. The team's just going to be better. And they don't have Gordon Hayward on the team anymore. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And they lost Josh Giddey. Oh my goodness.
They
Just
made
keeps getting
all the
better.
moves. They made all the moves they had to make. The only thing that I think could help them
Spacing.
and
Spacing.
you know the theme. But no, I think actually having another obviously they lost Giddey, which is a bit of a playmaker. Just having another playmaker off the bench, that again I think could help just with depth because you want to keep Shea healthy. That's the priority.
I think
Tyus
the third
Jones.
priority now is, making that third playmaker Holmgren, right? Like he's going to be the guy. And he's going to get a lot better too. He's going into his 3rd year and he showed
Well,
a lot last year obviously.
Second year, really.
Second
Year of playing.
Well, 3rd year of experience, let's say.
sure.
Yeah.
But Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
Still out there. Get him to Denver. Get him to Denver, man. Forget OKC. It's too much.
If Denver had any money, sure.
Oh my god.
Think
Tyus Jones
is-
isn't going to command a big payday?
He should. He's a really good player.
Same age as Caleb Martin.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Tyus Jones should be making between 15 and 20. He's probably going to make 12 next year with somebody.
He probably signed.
But yeah, I mean,
2 years.
just quickly on OKC, I just find it funny, like how all the analysts think that Hartenstein's going to start most of the time. He's not going to be starting. He's going to be coming off the bench.
But he'll still play 25 minutes a game.
Yeah, which is fine. Like he'll play 20 to 25 minutes a game, and against certain matchups, he might play a tiny bit more. But you want to keep a guy like that healthy throughout the year because he plays so hard. It's sort of like Caruso. It's the same idea. Like Caruso should not be playing more than 25 minutes in any game in the regular season, and I think he comes off the bench as well. I think Cason Wallace is going to start this year, and you bring those guys off the bench and just lock them down. Yeah, I think Cason Wallace is like early years Terry Rozier. Where Terry Rozier was he was a menace on defense, and he was a pretty good shooter too. And then, as soon as he left Boston, he just decided not to play defense ever again.
Well, he went to Charlotte.
Not as chaotic though, I don't think.
No, he's more sound and solid, obviously.
Yeah. Kayson's like cool and collected, man. I love that.
And he only takes good shots too. He's basically turned into a dumbed down version of himself, where he just doesn't do anything outside of what the coaching staff tells him to. But I think next year they're going to try to loosen the reins a little bit and let him create a little bit, because he didn't do any of that last year. So
smart guy, man. Knows how to get paid and stay in the league.
OKC is going to win the championship next year. I called it here first.
All right, I will take every other team in the NBA.
It's parity now, man. The NBA is all about parity. No repeats.
Yeah.
What a fun time. All right, let's call it here. I got to get off of here and go watch this Canada-USA scrimmage. Starts in like half an hour. So
I really hope Dylan Brooks starts something. That's all I'm hoping for in this game.
I hope he pokes LeBron. Just pokes the bear all over again,
Fucking idiot. All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
All right, and on that note, I want to thank everyone for listening. Please remember to rate and subscribe on iTunes, on Spotify. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms. I'm talking about Spotify. I just did that. Josh, god damn it, man. This guy's killing me. Find us on all the socials. We're talking YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, at HoopsCornerPod. And until next time, peace.